There, I'm David Barefoot, and this is the Holy Shyft podcast. Just as a reminder, we always want to look at shifting. Why? Because holy is reminding us, the word holy, regardless of your faith, is reminding us that there's a set apart, better than option in life. The word holy means other than. It's like that special, set apart, better desired option versus the less than option. So by default, you know it's true. We'll typically end up with less than unless we choose to be intentional and take advantage of the moment. So hence the Holy Shyft, and that's why it's spelled with a Y as a reminder that there's a fork in the road at any time. Less than, other than, and you're the one that has to make the shift. So last time we talked about proximity as being part of the way to continue to rise and enjoy the journey, being around like-minded people, even accelerating, going from an organic environment to an intentional environment where you find coaches, find leaders, hire people, do whatever you have to do to get where you want to go faster. And so today we want to look at how to gauge where you're at and where you want to go. I'm also going to reference a couple books that can have a huge impact. But basically, it's important to look at where you are at right now and get rot gut honest about it. Next week, definitely tune in because we're going to talk about how to move from this fantasy life where you don't really get what you want and enjoy your life versus the ability to face the facts. But right now, we just want to talk about getting real about where you're at and recognizing that today you live in a certain reality. There's kind of a frame you live in. We could draw a box, if you will, and make it four-dimensional and simply say that there's one aspect about your overall health and vitality. There's another side of the box we could look at that's just your state of being, where your emotional state is. Where's your connection with yourself? Where's your connection with God? The next side of the square, we could look at where are you at in balance in your relationships and the people that you care about most. First and foremost, if you're married, that should be the absolute number one most important relationship on this battleship Earth that we live on. And then there's your kids, if you have kids, and then maybe you have a few people that are in the inner circle. And then the fourth dimension, that fourth piece of the box that's framing your reality, is what you do with so much of your time, your business, your finances, how you give back to the world. So, four dimensions. And the truth is, and just pause and think, test this for yourself. I'm not asking you to trust me. Think about it. If you're nailing it in two of those dimensions, but in one of them you're just kind of flatlining and the other you're absolutely tanking, do you think you're really able to enjoy life at a sustainable level long term? So getting real specific, let's just say that you're nailing it in business. You're crushing it. You're making more money than you've ever made. You're on an uptick. Business is good. And let's say also you got six-pack abs. You're in incredible shape. You work out like a madman. However, your marriage is flatlining and your connection with yourself and your actual fulfillment and connection with God and any way to really just be centered is crashing. How long do you think you'll sustain? Take that flatline marriage. Where will it be in 3 to 5 years from now if it continues to get worse and just decline from there? You know it. You'll be divorced. You'll be miserable because your being, as far as your state of being, your fulfillment, your connection with God, you'll still be frustrated and divorced, and that'll have effect on your business and probably an effect on your body, right? So we could play with the four different sides of the frame, but those four dimensions, you need to be in a place where you're taking new ground every single year in all four dimensions, which brings us to an important crossroad, a why, like in the Holy Shyft aspect, where there's this big why, a decision of what is winning. If your life is all about the win, about the end zone, think about the sport of football. When they get in the end zone, they score a touchdown, they do a what? A victory dance, right? Or they spike the ball and they get all jacked up. I remember my coach said, don't over-celebrate the end zone. He said if you over-celebrate the end zone, then you have to over-lament the losses and the fumbles and the screw-ups. He said fall in love with the game win or lose. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. But when you love the game, you will find yourself winning in life and winning in this love of the game. And because of your love of the game, you will get more touchdowns. You will score more, have more winning seasons. So apply that across the board in your life. So you get to redefine what is winning. Give you another quick example. I didn't know, I was just curious, how long from birth, from inception to death for a butterfly, because obviously it doesn't start as a butterfly, right? So from the time it's an egg or whatever, however it starts, all the way to a dead butterfly, how much of that lifespan do you think involves flight? I thought maybe it's 30, 40%. Looked it up on ChatGPT, and the answer was 10%. Think about it. That's 10% of the entire life. So 90% of this organism's life does not involve flight. So if all the butterfly did, metaphorically, is live for the flight and love flight, that means 90% of its life is just trying to get there. That's a miserable way to live. And yet, some of you, in certain dimensions of your life, if not your total life, are constantly dissatisfied because you have this definition of winning that you can never achieve. So shift it. Get in touch with little wins every day and start stacking those on top of each other in all 4 areas. So the frame that we talked about, your current frame in those 4 dimensions, getting in touch with what that is and getting clear on what's working for you, but also what's not working for you. And once you get in touch with what's not working for you, let's call it what it is. It's a pit. It is not where you want to be. So feel empowered. And again, we're going to dig into this much deeper next week, but feel empowered by having the guts to say, this sucks. This is a pit. Now keep in mind, this pit you're in right now, if you went back 2 or 3 or 4 years back, or maybe all the way back 5, 10 years, some of the things about your life right now that you're calling a pit were your dream 5 years ago. You may be financially in a place you would have only dreamt of 5 years ago. You may be married when you weren't before to someone you truly love. You're living the peak possibility, the dream life that you had 5 years ago. However, because you're made and I'm made to expand, to grow, to constantly evolve and take new ground, to have dominion, to be fruitful and multiply in all aspects of your life. Because of that, your dream of yesterday is now your pit of today. Celebrate the awareness. We've talked about before, awareness is a superpower. You become unstoppable when awareness is something you celebrate instead of use as a reason to feel bad or to even hide from paying attention. So all we wanted to point out today is recognizing where you're at, the pit part of it, what's not working, so that you then can say, now, what do I want? In each of those 4 dimensions, in that box, if you're picturing with me, the area of your health and vitality, the area of your being, your connection to yourself and God, the area of relationships with your wife, your kids, the key people, the balanced area of your life, and then your business and finances. In each one of those areas, what are a few things you really want 1 year from now? And as you get in touch with that, that becomes the possibility. But you can only do that when you know where you're at. Otherwise, it's just fantasy. And now that you know, you've identified the gap. And instead of being overwhelmed by it, you can get excited about it and say, now, how do I take this picture I have and use it to navigate a life of fulfillment and ever-increasing success? Next week, we're going to pick up with step 1 of what to do with this pit-to-peak vision and this gap that you now have. And we're going to start to cover principles that empower you to rise, to literally reign your life, R-E-I-G-N, reign, as in the king, the queen of your life. So, for now, get in touch with the fact that you get to define what winning looks like and stop having it be out of reach, number 1. And number 2, stop having it only be about the little successes, the touchdowns. Learn to love the game and then learn to capture your wins on a daily basis. And then in preparation for next week, get in touch with where you're at. What's working, just to acknowledge it, but then also what's not working. I said we'd cover 2 books. I'll dig into them next time. For now, I'll let you know what they are. The Gap and the Gain is by Dan Kennedy and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And then also 10X is easier than 2X. We'll use both of those as we lean into next week. For now, I'm David Barefoot. This is the Holy Shyft Podcast.